All right, folks, so hang on. We're going to jump into our spoiler-free review. And then after that review is done, there'll be a hard out. And that'll be your opportunity, if you don't want to listen to spoilers, to avoid the finale of this show. I am going to put this in here for those of you who are going to stop listening after the spoil-free one. We're probably going to be taking next week off for the July 4th holiday since it's on a weekend. But the following week, we are planning on maybe doing 2 in a row of these watch and reviews with Superman. But we will have to let you know when that time comes. It's looking like it's going to be that way. But anyway, so this is the spoiler-free review, so we hope you enjoy. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to episode 165 of NerdPod Generations. Just coming off of our Watch, Play, Read, we are now doing our initial spoiler-free, just got in the car from watching 28 Years Later, kind of our review. Mm-hmm. Once again, this is the spoiler-free. You'll hear the audio change, and we'll make a notification to let you know when we are back in the studio, and we will do a spoiler discussion.
It'll be way better, too.
Yeah.
Also.
Well, I think this is still spectacular because I love the fact that we're going to be able to give our direct feel of the film after literally just walking out.
Yeah, well, like we got to do this for another movie last year.
Yeah, I can't remember which one.
I also don't remember which one we did this for. I'm guessing a Marvel movie.
It probably.
So pick a Marvel movie from last year that we deigned to see in theaters. And anyway,
this is much better than a Marvel movie.
My favorite claim about being able to do this, though, is that we're literally in the parking lot.
Yeah.
I got in a traffic accident on that corner. I got beat up in that alley.
What?
Yes.
That's crazy.
Yeah, no, I was pulling left into the parking lot to see the Incredible Hulk of all things, and a lady who was on her phone sideswiped me.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Well, that's not good.
Yeah. So, but New York is a no-fault state, so, you know.
Yeah. We're good like that.
Yeah.
All right, so, folks, so we literally, like we said, we just walked out of, and I mean walk out, the film was done. We just left the screening of 28 Years Later, which is the third in the line from 28 days to 28 weeks to 28 years. And this one is definitely more in line with the first one tonality.
Yeah.
Where the second one, Danny Boyle didn't direct the second one, correct?
No. And in fact, for a little bit there, I wasn't sure if the second one was going to be considered canon while we were watching it. There was a real moment. I don't think as we were watching it, I was like, because I just rewatched both movies.
Yes.
Because I'm insane like that. And God, 28 Weeks Later is such a different movie.
Yeah.
It's an entirely different animal. So it made sense that they would kind of ignore it and be like, you know what, we're going to go back to the way the canon was before we kind of messed with it.
And it was like kind of the American version.
It was very much the American version.
You had Jeremy Renner as the lead, pretty much.
My favorite thing about it, the way that you can show that it's the American version of a British film made by American people with British people, is that you have Rose Byrne and Idris Elba, both British actors, playing Americans.
Yeah. Which is always insane to me.
It's just like, I realized after watching it, I was like, I want to ask Rose Byrne what that experience was like. Because you're shooting in London, and you must feel kind of, if not at home, at least like, acquainted with the surroundings, more so than I could be. Having been in that location, and we'll talk about locations in a bit. The idea that you would have to pretend to be an American and fully drop your accent while filming in the biggest city in the country you're from is kind of hilarious. Yeah. And also, I think, a good summary of 28 Weeks Later.
Yes. So, and thank you for summarizing that, because I have watched 28 Days Later. I have not watched 28 Weeks in a very long time.
Yeah.
So I have very sparse memories of that movie.
Yeah.
I do remember the tone, though.
I'll call some stuff out as we go.
Okay.
But, definitely, for sure.
So, going by the title, for those of you who do not know the premise of these are zombie-like. They're not zombies. It's a rage sickness.
Yeah.
That when the infected get you, they bite you, but they're not trying to eat you. They're trying to spread the infection.
Well, sometimes they're trying to eat you.
Sometimes, but it's not like a normal zombie movie where that's their whole focus.
And this is one of the things that they kind of decided to move away from for 28 years later, from 28 weeks later, because they kind of they played around with that a little bit in 28 weeks later, and kind of muddled it, and to the point where what's his face, Robert what's his nuts, who's at the front of that movie, Roger whatever, he was he's in the full Monty, so I just kept on calling him Monty. He becomes like the Jaws for Carlisle, Robert Carlisle. He becomes the Jaws 4 shark of zombies, where throughout the entire thing after he gets infected, he is chasing his children all over this army base, and it turns into mad hijinks from there.
Yeah, no, I don't have a lot of fond memories of that second one.
It's fine. It's like a C+. It's fine.
So anyways, this movie starts off, we get to meet Aaron Taylor Johnson and his son, Spike.
Yes.
Played by a newcomer named Alfie. I can't remember his last name. Kid is amazing. It's his third thing he has on IMDb is this movie. He was unbelievable.
I do love a Danny Boyle movie with a character named Spike.
Yeah, you got it, Spike. So it follows Spike's, let's say, coming of age.
Yes.
Where he gets to go to the mainland with his father because they are currently living on an island just off the coast of Scotland.
Yeah.
And they live in this community, which is kind of cult-like.
Yeah.
Like there's a weird vibe with this community.
There's like, it's so tough. So I went to this country, unbeknownst to me or anybody. Me and Kelly, when we went to England last year, this was one of the places we went to.
Okay.
And we went to Holy Island, which was where that castle was, and it was the stand-in for a lot of their village. Not the stand-in, it was their village. That was the village that they went to. I went down that drive that is connecting them to the mainland. They edited that. That drive is it's not a straight line. It's along a coast. But seeing it here was just, it added a whole other level to everything going on. And so I think the thing that they were going for is kind of, that's the culture of the area. It's not that it's a cult. That's like that's the heritage of that area, is to at least that's the way I read it, was like, these people have kind of regress socially in a way without losing some of their more modern sensibilities. But they have kind of gone back to this, like, I don't want to say tribal, but more English tribal mentality.
I would say that's a good analogy.
I think it really falls into the accordion. I think is a great analogous in this situation, where you have this guy playing the accordion as part of one of the celebrations. And it's like a nice, quote unquote, new accordion. But it also it has the exact feel of, like, you would see this in a Disney cartoon of a guy with like just an old, like, just wheeze box accordion, just like going along and playing. So like I kind of liked it. I liked the culture that they established there because it was so reminiscent of what I saw when I went.
And it was, I think the cult vibe I got was a lot of just the way he shot their frivolity, let's call it.
Yeah.
Like when they're celebrating, a lot of times when typical people are partying, they can make weird faces and look like they're a little mental. Well, he really focused in on some of them.
Yeah.
And it made it feel, and I know he was trying to make it kind of what Alfie was going on in his head because he was uncomfortable with the situation.
Yes, I think that's also true.
But holy shit, I think that was just well shot.
The part of it that made me think of it as a cult, because the part that I agree with, was the masks that they were wearing.
Yes.
Where I was like, I don't know.
Especially that one girl that just kept standing.
That was just standing there wearing one. I was like, what does this mean? Is she being punished? What's happening? Is this a good thing? Is this a bad thing? What is this? Is this a celebration? Is this a warning? what does this mean? I don't understand what this means.
Yeah.
So yes, I agree. But again, I kind of also love it for that. I love it for having that element in the film at all. That mysterious, like, it's just people being people, man. It's how people react to a stressful situation.
And you meet in this, so they go on their mission, come back, and you meet Spike's mom, who is not well.
No.
And ends up becoming the catalyst for the second half of this movie.
Yes. What's wrong with Mom is the MacGuffin.
It's pretty much the MacGuffin. And I think I know how I can fix her, and we need to get there.
Yeah.
That's kind of the whole basis of this movie.
Yeah.
It did introduce, and I wouldn't say this is a spoiler, there's a new form of infected called the Alphas.
There's an evolution of the infected.
And I like that because it's what was tried in other, like, zombie movie, like Zack Snyder tried it in Army of the Dead. And it's this, like you're saying, it's the evolution, and it's not just that they're evolving into bigger, stronger, but smarter.
Yes.
So it's but they're still very, it's almost as if they're evolving from mindless rage monsters to, like, cavemen.
Yes.
Neanderthal.
There is an actual, like, call it prescient, call it whatever you want. It reminded me a lot of the Titans in Attack on Titan.
Yes.
Where there's a few different levels of Titan and how they progress and evolve, and, you know, different levels, and also the fact that they are buck naked.
Oh, they're very naked.
There's a lot of naked people in this movie, and none of them are attractive because they are all monsters.
Yeah, and that's, that's the fun thing. I had mentioned to you how this movie didn't get an NC-17 because of the very brutal violence, but then also the amount of nudity. And it is, there's nothing sexual about any of this nudity.
No, even when you see So I don't want to get into it because it's a little bit of a spoiler for the second half of the movie. But there is a certain element introduced in the form of a woman who is in her situation. You could have an entire short film.
Yes.
Over what happened in this situation. So I fucking, dude, I love this movie.
This movie is fucking awesome.
I fucking, like, we joked last week about, like, oh, what are we going to do? We had 2 in a row. Oh, and we're going to get fat and sassy on this. And dude, we had 3 in a row.
Yeah.
This, I instantly, I'm like, maybe this is the best movie I've seen this year. I don't know.
It is one of the best horror movies I've ever seen, because it is quite literally a horror movie, but it is so deep.
Yes.
And so powerful.
It's what great directors and writers do, because this is Danny Boyle and Alex Garland.
Yes.
Which is another way it's more of a sequel to the first one than the second one, is that they produced the second one, they created the first one.
Yes.
And the exact same tandem is back in the exact same regard. So Alex Garland wrote it, and Danny Boyle directed it.
I do have to give a shout out to Anthony Dodd Mantle, who's the cinematographer. Because holy shit.
Yeah.
This movie is stunning.
Oh my God.
The scenery, just some of the shots are up. There's a scene at the end. I don't want to give anything away, but it's a bunch of pillars.
Yes.
And there's, like, flames encircling it.
God.
It was so gorgeous. Like, it was so beautiful. The landscapes were amazing. The dirtiness and the way they shot the infected, I loved, where it's, they're in and out of focus.
Yeah.
it depends on how crazed they are. They go out of focus the crazier they get. And it was like, dude,
Yeah.
so good.
Oh my god, every level of this movie is incredible. I think the best praise I can give to it in terms of my grading is, you hear one of those questions that people have for like parties or whatever as an icebreaker. Is like, what's the last movie that made you cry? I'm like, I don't know. I have to really think back. I don't know. This made me fucking weep like a baby. Like I was embarrassed how much I was weeping during this movie.
And we'll explain to you why.
Yes, in the spoiler
one.
But oh my god, this was one of the most beautiful films I've ever seen. It is a horror movie through and through, but at the same time, it is this masterwork of storytelling where the horror is the world that couches the story. And so it becomes just the man versus world element. As it's people, but now there's this. And so I love the world that it builds and how it doesn't just it's not just about jump scares and spooks. There are some of those. I'm looking at you, Castle Ruins, but
oh my
God, I just love the way that this movie evolves the 28 days later mythology. It still uses some of the 28 weeks later stuff, and we'll get to that again later. But I can't praise this movie enough. This is an incredible film.
Yes.
Absolutely incredible.
It really is. And it, like I had mentioned to you, I believe this is supposed to be part of a trilogy. So there's 2 more movies, which the insane ending, which it is a batshit crazy ending, but an awesomely batshit crazy ending.
That is like the only part of the movie that I got to, and I was like, I don't know what to do with this. I can't, I'm not going to deduct you because I kind of love it, but also, what the fuck is this? What is happening?
It's as if they took the heroine from Trainspotting right before they shot the end of the movie. It was like, let's do this, and everyone's like, it's a great idea.
Let's do it.
It was batshit crazy ending, but man,
it was truly one of the most wild things I've ever seen. I have to start thinking of, because we're not going to talk about what it is until we get to the spoiler part, but I have to start thinking of a comparison to it. I know exactly what it is. I got one. But anyway, I fucking love this movie. Even
great movie.
I don't know if in spite of or in part of, but I love this movie even with the ending as it is.
See, I'll be honest. After rewatching it, I've officially made Sinners my top movie of the year so far. It's definitely on that level.
They're both they're so close together.
They're just so different.
Yeah.
And I think the only reason I might still side with Sinners is just because of some of the performances, where this was great performances, but the real star to me was just the direction and the visuals were just astounding.
Yeah. Oh my
Absolutely astounding.
So the spirituality of Sinners is what stands out to me looking back on it, as far as what makes that movie great. It has a lot of elements that make it great, but I would think the culmination of that is just the spirituality of the film. And here, I don't know if it's better than Sinners or the same as Sinners, but it's one of those things where there's 6 different things that I could call this movie, and but at the same time I felt that way about Sinners as soon as I walked out of it. I've had a week to reminisce on that. I've had now about 8 minutes. So I don't know, man. I fucking love this movie.
Yeah. I mean, needless to say, this is an A++ for me.
A++++++. Yeah. This movie lights me up in a way that no movie has in recent memory. So recent, at least, that it sticks out in my mind of oh, you remember how you felt coming out of the theater, feeling oh wow. And I'm trying not to include Spider-Man movies, because that's the nostalgia quotient for that is off the chain.
Yeah.
So it has to be something like Into the Spider-Verse, like level of like, wow, this transcends to art.
Mhm.
And on top of that, it's an excellent Spider-Man movie.
Yeah. No, but that's a good way to describe it. This is an art film.
Yeah.
It is 1,000%. Now, for those of you who are listening who love just flat out bloody horror movies, this is a very bloody horror movie.
Oh, there's still a fuck ton of violence.
Oh my God. And it's very visceral.
Oh my God.
And it doesn't hide anything, doesn't pull any punches. It is 1,000% just a brutal horror movie.
I don't think that this would count as a spoiler. There are several Predator-esque moments
Yes.
that are more graphic than Predator.
Yes.
That was the reaction we both had sitting in the theater.
Yes.
Was like, holy shit.
It was something, man. It was something.
I love this movie.
Yeah.
God damn it. This was a brilliant fucking film. I'm trying to think if there's anything else to bring up before we start getting into spoilers.
See, I every time I think of something different, it's going to be spoiler
All right.
filled. So this is your warning.
Yes.
As soon as you hear this audio cut into the more refined audio,
Yes.
we will be in spoiler territory. So be warned.
Deep spoiler territory.
Deep spoiler.
So hang on to your butts.
Yeah.
All right, folks, we're back. Hope you enjoyed that. So now it is time to talk spoilers for 28 years later.
Oh my God. Where do you even want? Like, I guess the best place to start is the very beginning, which is the Teletubbies, which was very nostalgic for me.
Dude, that was a fucked up
My
scene.
God. Just like parents coming and putting their children in this room and being like, don't leave the room. And as we've seen so many times with these rage monsters, which I think I kind of was watching the beginning of this movie, I was like, should we call them Fecks? Because like that feels like a, you know, like you hear these native tribes to Britain and like the Pecks and the whatever. And you're like, okay, yeah, maybe the Fecks, they're in the infected, the Infects.
Could be.
Anyway, I just think to get to this point and they're still just being called the Infected, I'm like, there's no one. We don't have a euphemism for these fucking things yet. We can call them alphas, but we haven't figured out a euphemism for that. Anyway, that moment where they're just a bunch of kids in this room sets the tone for like, this is, in case you didn't know, this is what's going on.
Yeah, and what fucked me up about that scene actually wasn't the kids getting killed, where you can hear it but not see it. It's as the parents keep coming in and out of the room, the kids are starting to react to what they're hearing.
The older kids especially are starting to realize what's going on. So the younger kids hear the panic and they're just covering their ears, but you can see in the older kids that something is...
They're starting to cry, and it's
deeply
like...
wrong.
That fucked me up. I was like, that is some powerful shit. Yeah. And then the infected come in...
And it's their own parents.
It's their own parents. And you see the TV screen, and all you see is just blood splattering on it, knowing that they're just tearing the kids apart. Yeah. And you're like, oh my God.
Jesus Christ.
Except for one,
Jimmy, who gets away. He goes to see his dad, who's a priest. And it turns out Dad has gone off the deep end. Yeah.
Oh, this is the rapture.
This is
the great thing.
Safety, servitude. Yeah, that was a killer cold open.
Yes.
So we go from that to Spike.
Spike and his dad, Aaron Taylor Johnson, who is starting to grow on me. He's doing more of these.
I was about to say, it's interesting because he's getting to that point where he does need to be a little careful. He is getting to that point of like, oh, and you're in this too. Yeah. Okay. But at the same time, I'm not disliking any of the times that he shows up. Whenever he does show up, with the exception of Craven, which wasn't his fault. Let me put it this way. You could put anyone into that movie and it would be the disaster that it was.
Absolutely.
Which is why I also don't blame Ariana DeBose for that movie. How could you? It was a disaster. The only person I think who was stoking the fire was maybe Russell Crowe, who was sitting there kind of with like a fan being like, Yeah, let's see how bad this can be.
He's in paycheck mode.
Yeah. Anyway, he was. I really liked him to begin this movie.
And what I appreciate is This might be the first movie of his I've seen where he has not taken his shirt off.
Yes.
And it's like, oh, so he's just this scruffy, dirty father.
He's seen as a sex symbol in the town because of his status.
Yes.
Not because, like, he's ripped. Mm-hmm. We don't see him walk out and, you know, he's going to go get water in the morning, and he just walked right out of bed, and he's, you know, ripped. He's Tyler Durden ripped. And no, like, the reason he's beloved in this town is because of what he has accomplished and what he provides.
And him and now his son, they're part of this small group of people that actually go from the island to the mainland to try to find supplies and food and whatnot.
So the funny thing about this is I really did go to this island. This is Holy Island. We really did go there, me and Kelly. We could only spend about an hour there because when the tide comes in, you're stuck. That's it. It was so incredible seeing it here. And I really think that was why I loved it so much.
I gotcha.
Why I fell in love with the people there so quickly. Because I was just like, oh. Because that was one of the you know, I always say when telling the story, that was the day that if I could Groundhog Day myself and get stuck in a day, it would have been that day, so we could just get trapped on Holy Island, because it just seems like such an incredible place.
I got you.
And I think they shot a few different elements, because I think the destroyed castle that they hide in, I think that's from parts of Holy Island. I think they shot
kidding.
there too. So it was just, God,
it's so beautiful.
It was so beautiful. It's a beautiful spot and well worth seeing the movie just for that.
Yeah.
And then on top of it, it's just the setting of this incredible story.
Yes.
Oh my God.
And then, so you get to see Spike and his father go to the mainland. We get introduced to this new form of infected, the Alpha and his minions, let's call them.
Yeah.
Which are like I said in the spoilers, or in the spoil free, they're kind of like de-evolved into these mindless creatures and then are re-evolving into like a Neanderthal.
Yeah.
Because that's how they act. They still have like interactions between their group. They understand like feelings and stuff.
Yeah. And we see, this is, I think, part of where you see a little bit of that mesh point between 28 days and 28 weeks. Because they really almost completely disregard 28 weeks later, which is a good decision. It is very much a popcorn movie. It is not an art movie. One of the things that they bring up, though, inadvertently, one of the things that they establish, I think is a better way to put it, is that some people keep some level of consciousness while, you know, infected with this thing, enough so that you can hunt down your own children no matter where they go. And so, like, you kind of get, like, you take that and you're like, okay, give that 28 years. And this idea that for some people, not for everybody, but for some people, it turns into this accelerant where it makes them super strong. It makes them basically peak human function. And they can, in many ways, control other infected people.
And it's funny, there is a line in it where Spike is talking to a Swedish military member, and he said, I've heard people say it's like steroids, but I don't know what
that means.
Yeah.
That was, I want to talk about that really quick.
Okay.
Or we can wait until we get to that part of the story.
It's up to you. I'm good either way.
I found Eric such an interesting part of the story.
Yes.
Because it, again, is more evidence that 28 weeks later is maybe not canon. The other element that makes it maybe canon is some of the shots of people running panicked in the street that they flash on the screen over the course of the film. Those are actually from 28 weeks later. So, you know, you're like, okay, yeah, maybe it happened. I don't know. At the end of 28 weeks later, they do this thing where it's like, oh, the kid makes it out alive and he's fine. And then it's like, oh, 28 days later, infected in Paris. And you're like, okay, interesting. So I kind of like that they ignore that.
Yeah.
Because what Eric does here is basically establish, like, yeah, there's a world out there. And not only that, it's our world.
Yes.
And so Eric shows up and he has a smartphone and all these other things. And I'm like, you know what? I usually hate this in movies. But I really, really like it.
I do too.
especially because Eric dies in part because of his reliance on these things. And so it's like the movie being like, hey, you want to see yourself in this world? This is how you would do in this world. And you're dead. And you're fucking dead. And I'm going to carry around the audience's decapitated head, and it's going to be a MacGuffin that keeps coming back in the story.
Oh, it's crazy.
But I like Eric for that. I like that moment where he shows Spike a picture of his girlfriend. And Spike is like, is she having an allergic reaction?
Because she has collagen.
And he's like, no, she's beautiful. And he's like, I don't know. I've seen people on the island have that reaction. It's not good. It usually starts bad things. And so it's like, I love this idea that, like, they've just been left there. Mm-hmm. And you can either die on the island or survive, but there's no getting off the island.
Yep.
And you're just stuck there. And when I say the island, I mean the entirety of the UK.
Yeah.
We see very early on that even Ireland has been affected by this. The entirety of the UK and Ireland is cordoned off and no entry. And so I love just this evolution of, like, here's the society. It's the society that was there, but kind of like, you know, evolved and devolved at the same time. They don't have certain amenities. They do have some amenities. And it just takes this shell of the world that's been kind of the center point of all of these movies, where, like, you know, 28 Days Later is just a guy wakes up in the shell of a world. And, you know, the world is fully destroyed all around him. And then you find out at the end of the movie, it's not fully destroyed. It's just this one place that got fucking wrecked, which is a great twist.
Oh, it's fantastic.
That's a fantastic twist, is when he looks up and he sees the plane. And, like, even as you're watching it, you're like, is that real? Is he hallucinating a plane, or is that really a plane? No, that's really a plane. And so this movie has all of the artistic flair that 28 Days Later had.
Oh, absolutely.
But again, kind of on steroids. It has all of this growth that has gone along with that as well.
And I do appreciate, the big thing I appreciate about this movie is they are going down one cliched rabbit hole, which I'm kind of tired of, and they went to a different one, which I appreciate, which they're setting this up to be a father-son movie.
Yeah.
And you're like, yep, this is going to be a father-son movie. This father's teaching his son, and he's, you know, the father's taking care of his wife who's sick and is losing her mind a little bit. And then you find out the dad is a piece of shit who's banging some chick. And so the son ends up leaving with the mother, and it becomes a son-mother movie.
Well, it's like this weird pseudo-tragedy of again, this also reminds me a lot of Attack on Titan, where it's these people living in the shell of a world, and they just kind of presume that this is the case.
Yeah.
And they've given themselves to whatever seems to be true at the moment. And so he sees his wife deteriorating hour to hour. And he's gotten to a point of, like, she's effectively dead. She's not my wife anymore. I'm trying to make her as comfortable as possible, but this is a job. I am done. I do not see this as the person I fell in love with. And to the boy, that's a tragedy.
Yeah.
And it's not just like, it's to his dad, it's a coping mechanism.
Yeah.
To his son, it's a full-on tragedy.
And from a self-proclaimed mama's boy, it was so much better being a son-mother film than it would have been a father-son.
Yeah.
Because you get the growth of the son in his ability to protect himself and his mother, then you also get the love. Like the just, oh my God.
Yeah.
Brutal, but like he is just so terrified for her, and she's hallucinating and calling him her father, and he doesn't know what's going on, but then she has her lucid moments where they're joking around and making faces at one another, and you're like, dude, this is fucking heartbreaking.
Oh my God.
Beautiful, but heartbreaking.
Just like her, when they're camping out, and her being like, does your dad do this kind of stuff with you?
Yeah.
And we now have seen how his dad acted when taking his boy on the exact same journey, with a different destination in mind, versus how his mom is approaching the exact same situation, but with, as it turns out, inoperable brain tumor.
Yeah.
And just like the dichotomy of those two moments is
But like,
insane.
it's not even just the like camping moment. It's when she says to him, "Well, then does he joke around with you in the quiet moments?" And he's like, "No."
No.
And it's like, that's when you need to have that humanity.
Yeah. So God, and then we get to Ralph Fiennes.
Dude, so good. He is so good. Covered in iodine because the infection does not like iodine. So he covers himself head to toe in iodine.
Yeah.
And he looks spectacular. Like the makeup and the costuming and all that for him is fucking so good.
Ralph Fiennes is one of those actors where sometimes he shows up and you're like, why are you in this?
Yeah.
And then other times he shows up and you're like, oh,
you're perfect.
This is going to be even better than it already was. And man, he is so fucking good.
Yeah.
Because like, so we're presented as what happened was when Spike goes out on his manly retreat.
Yes.
To take his first life. Because like you have to go and do this whole ritual where you go and you kill an infected, and then you come back. When he goes out on this trip, which proves that his mother is much more kind and gentle later on in the film, he sees a fire, and his dad is like, don't worry about it. And he's like, but what about it? And he's like, drop it. Don't worry about it. So turns out that fire was Ralph Fiennes, and Ralph Fiennes is a doctor, and he spooked the town people because at one point the town people came to find him to see what was going on with the fire, and he has a bunch of bodies just laid out, and he's just standing next to a giant fire, and he just waves like he's at a barbecue, being like, "Hey, you want to come over and hang out?" And, the down people are like, fuck no.
Yeah.
So they run off. And so Spike, learning this, is like, but we got to take Mom to see the doctor. And Aaron Taylor Johnson is like, no, we fucking don't. That guy's crazy. He was crazy before. He's got to be even crazier now. He's so fucking good in this movie.
Yeah, he's not crazy. He's sane. He's as sane as a person who's been alone for 30 years.
Yeah.
Just with these bones of the people who've died.
Well, he's like, what I love is that he's a scientist.
Yes.
He knows how to keep himself alive in all of this. And so he's also an artist. He's also kind of a monk.
Yes.
A philosophizer. He's this guru. He's amazing.
He really is amazing.
And so when he shows up, you're like, oh boy, here we go. And he's just like, he's Ralph Fiennes.
Yeah.
He's just sophisticated.
He's so good.
Well-mannered.
And his diagnosis scene of the mother. Because not only does it show what kind of a man he is, but it shows how intelligent he is, because it's been 30 years since he's practiced medicine with human beings. And here he is still remembering and doing these basic tests you could do where he comes to the conclusion that she's got cancer.
Yeah.
And it's like, it was really fascinating. I loved watching that scene.
Yeah.
Because and not only that, but he's like, are you okay if I touch your armpits and your breasts?
Yeah.
You figure somebody like him who's been away be like, listen, I got to just grab you. But he's still this professional.
He's so sensitive.
And polite and sensitive.
Yeah.
Oh, he was so good.
He's so good. And I just I love when he stops the alpha that's chasing them.
Yeah.
And he has this whole thing. He knows this alpha. He's named him. He's like, okay, Samson, give me your trophy. Because he's ripped the head off of Eric.
Yes.
And who I really do, I just love the feel of this whole movie.
Yeah.
Because, there is this element of, who's going to come and save them, right? And you see this a lot in movies. But, at the same time, it also has, this beautiful moment at, every 20 minutes. There's some beautiful moment, whether it's all these deer running past the house.
Oh, God, yeah.
Or this pregnant infected.
Yeah.
Where you're just like, how long has she been bitten for? She's still wearing clothes. What's going on? The whole delivery scene. Samson showing up. Eric dying. That whole series of events is just crazy.
And during the birth scene, how Spike's mom kneels in front of the infected, and the infected realizes in that moment that she needs help. And so I keep saying
gives her leverage.
Is Spike's mom? Is it Isla?
I think it's Isla.
So Isla kneels down and she puts her hands out to hold the infected's hands, and the infected realizes that and grabs onto her hands. But then what's fascinating is the second the baby's born, the infected passes out, but then when she comes to, she goes into attack mode. Mm-hmm. And it's like she had that lucid moment and then went right back to being like mindless monster. And it was fucking fascinating.
It was such a good movie.
It really is.
It's so incredible.
Yeah.
All right, so this has been a very fun episode, Friends and Enemies.
It's been filled with peaks and valleys and many different recording situations.
So a little quick peek behind the scenes. I got violently sick while we were trying to finish our review of 28 Years Later. But it's such a good movie that we decided to reconvene a few days later and record the actual end
later.
of... Yeah, I know, right? But so I just wanted, we were talking about the brilliant performance by Ralph Fiennes when I started feeling so queasy that I had to leave my seat.
Yes.
And I just wanted to reassert, like, that might be my favorite Ralph Fiennes performance, maybe since In Bruges. Like, it makes everybody thinks of Ralph Fiennes and thinks of Voldemort, and like I'm like no. Like, or I guess the Constant Gardener, depending on if you talk to your mom or not. But like I kind of love this performance by him.
Oh, it's so great.
It's so magical. It's so haunting. There's a very real devastation to this guy who's out here living on his own, doing his own thing.
For the better part of 30 years living on his own.
Yeah. In total isolation, because the one residence nearby we know doesn't want anything to do with him.
Yeah.
And he's just been building this art piece. I love that line that he has where he turns to Spike and he's like, you know how many times I've thought about hearing someone ask, what is that?
Yes.
And the answer I would be so excited to give them. And it's just like, as an artist who has been passed over by the public on a lot of fronts, that is a very real feeling of like, oh, somebody asked what it is.
And I appreciate that they took this character and they could have easily made him some kind of a horror movie cliche of the hermit, but they didn't. You know, even though he's been by himself taking care of horrific things for 30 years, he's still very lucid. He's still very intelligent. He's not gone crazy. Like, it's amazing.
I really thought that was where they were going to go. Is he's going to get to this doctor, and this doctor is going to be even more of a threat than the infected are.
Exactly.
No, this guy he's just this, like, I keep on going back to Monk, but that's what I keep on thinking of, is just this guy who has reached some level of peace and enlightenment when it comes to death and mortality in this world. And now his mission is to pass that on to Spike. And, tears. A beard full of tears during that scene.
That was horrific.
God, just like, and it's so beautiful. There's a haunting quality to it. I think that it makes a lot of sense why they put the giant pile of skulls on the poster. There is a genuinely haunting quality to it, but at the same time, when you stop and see it through Ralph Fiennes' eyes, you're like, God, this might be one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen.
Mm-hmm. No, I agree. And I love that he has that connection with the mother, that she doesn't even necessarily have to tell him, I need my life to end. He just knows the amount of pain she's in and that she will die sooner than later, and probably die in more horrific pain, that he just... very silently, they come up with this conclusion, and he helps her end her life, which is just haunting.
Like 3 looks. It's like 3 looks between the two of them while she's holding Spike. And the idea that, like, he knows he needs to sedate Spike first.
Yeah.
Because otherwise we're going to have problems. But, like, God, to go through all of that scene with Eric and then to go through it with Isla is just so... touching and moving, and it's again just more the tragedy of this world, where they don't know if she had breast cancer or brain cancer first. But one could be forgiven for assuming that she had breast cancer that metastasized to her brain. Mm-hmm. And that's just such a tragic idea, but that's a death sentence in this world.
Oh, absolutely.
And especially after we meet Eric, and you're like, God, this world is insane. Like the politics of this world are crazy. So everything with that shot, everything with Isla's final moments, some of the best cinematography I've ever seen.
Oh, it was unbelievable.
Absolutely just staggering.
And I had mentioned earlier on when we were talking about it how there was that shot of the pillars when he is pretty much high on the pain meds that the doc gave him to calm him down, and his mother's dying, and you see the top down view of the pillars, and you see the fire circling it, and it's kind of spiritual.
Yeah,
like that's the best kind of feeling. Like, not religious folks, you know me, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking to spiritual. Like, he was having that. Not to steal the words of the great Aaron Rodgers, but he was having like that ayahuasca experience where he's really high and he knows something's wrong, but he sees this beauty around him, and in this, it was so unbelievable.
Aaron Rodgers wishes he could have that experience.
Yes, he does.
He might be a normal human being if he had that experience.
Yeah, that's a long shot.
To me, it was because Ray Fiennes has this whole bit about explaining his heart piece and what he's built here. And when you see that scene and you see all the sparks flying around, the thought that I had was just like, these are the many, many souls that live in this art piece, that are either trapped or held, or in whatever way they exist here. This is where they stay. And God, it was such a beautiful scene. It was just absolutely spectacular.
Yeah, I loved it. I mean, it was a great way to kind of crescendo.
Yeah,
I know it wasn't necessarily the end of the movie, but it was the emotional ending of this movie.
It kind of was. Like, we've been talking the last few weeks about how to end a movie. Specifically when we were looking at Captain America Brave New World and Snow White, and this idea of like, we're not going to have a fight to end the movie, we're going to have a conversation to end the movie. And you kind of get to those moments, you're like, but this doesn't really fit with the tone and feel and everything that you've built here. This doesn't work for me as a way to end the story. I do think that scene with Spike in the art house, for lack of a better term, is the climax of the film, because he doesn't encounter, like, we are sitting here being like, oh, he's going to have to fight Samson on his way back to the island. Samson's going to come up on him and he's going to have to deal with that while holding a baby. No, that's not the story we're telling. The story we're telling is about humanity, not about the struggle for humanity to survive only, but the humanity that remains after and during that struggle. And so this idea that we just see him walk home and we hear his letter to his father and we're like, wow, that is an ending. And then Danny Boyle is like, well,
no, I got to give you some
feel like
bad
we have one more thing we have to do.
Oh my God. Fucking insanity. Insanity.
You remember Jim from the very beginning of the movie, the one kid that made it out alive? He's still alive. And he is a Power Ranger, and he has booked an entire group of Power Rangers, and they run around fighting infected, all dressed up in Power Ranger colors. They're all wearing, like, you'd think that they were some like Jersey mobster from the 2000s with their tracksuits.
Oh, it was like, I remember you and I just kind of going, what the fuck is going on? Because you go from that deep, I mean, because if you think about it, you have the mother dying, which was very deep. The letter to the father and the father's reaction was very deep. And then you just go to this batshit crazy part that I was like, what is going on? Like, I had whiplash.
It's just people doing flips, people with bleach blonde hair doing flips in colorful costumes, and they have, like, homemade spears and swords, and you're just like, what's happening?
I mean, for any of you who've seen The Gentleman, they were all wearing the same kind of tracksuit that
Colin Farrell wears.
Colin Farrell wears, but they're all wearing different colored ones, and it was just fucking crazy.
It was just absolutely bananas. It was the most insane way I've ever seen a film end. It reminded me of, during our non-spoiler review, I was like, I gotta come up with a comparison for this. I don't know, have you watched either of the animated Witcher movies?
Yes.
Okay. Have you watched the Undersea one?
No.
Okay. That's the thing that it reminded me of. Loyal listeners from last year will remember that I watched this and was shocked when it fully devolved into The Little Mermaid at one point.
That's right. I remember you telling me about that.
And just being like, we were going along having a great time, and then this happened, and now I don't know. And I think that this came close to that. That did end up costing that Witcher movie a half letter grade in the end, because I was like, what the fuck was that? Here, no demarcs, just a few questions, sure. But even then, they tee it up because Spike has a Power Ranger at home, which I like to think was his dad's.
Yeah.
And the only thing I'll say about that is I don't think that version of the Power Rangers was around in 2002 when the world ended. I think
that'd be interesting to look into.
Granted, I did not watch Power Rangers, so this is just me merely viewing from the internet as a peanut gallery.
Yeah.
And being like, I don't think that's right. I don't think that version of the Power Rangers was around in 2002. But, I also didn't watch Power Rangers because it had black magic in it.
Well, I mean, you think about it. The OG show, I believe, was 92, 93, because I know I was still in high school when it came out. Yeah. So, maybe 10 years later, that was
maybe that was where they were at.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But what I'm thinking this ending is him saying, okay, the heavy stuff is out of the way. This next movie's going to have a tonal change. Because you got all that drama pretty much done, other than the father has not been finalized. But it definitely was a tonal shift, and it's like, okay, this is rolling into the next movie with this tone now.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and we were discussing it in the theater, and you brought up that Cillian Murphy might be in the next two, or is in the next two, because he was a producer on this. And it, again, it just sparks so many different ideas. At the way 28 Days Later ends is with them flagging a plane down. Mm-hmm. But now we know that plane never would have landed to pick them up.
That's true.
Because if it did, it would not have had anywhere to go back to, because no country would have accepted them.
Yep.
So it's just like, so he's still on the island. Him and I think her name was Naomi or something. Oh no, she's played by Naomi Harris. I don't remember her name, but they're still on the island somewhere. They can still show up at any time.
Oh yeah.
I think it will be confusing because his name was also Jim. So if he meets Power Ranger Jim, we're going to have to come up with some kind of naming convention to tell the two of them apart. Mm-hmm. But God, what a way to end the movie.
Oh, so good.
That was like just so fucking batshit. And it does make me excited because they've established a really interesting world.
Yes.
They went through, they audited their canon. 28 weeks later starts, and they're like, oh, if you just wait a month, all of the infected starve to death.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So that's easy then. No, we're getting rid of that. That is no longer part of the canon. We have moved on to a new thing. And I really want to see the world that they build with all these new rules and concepts that they've thrown in there. I think that this is going to be a lot of fun, even if it doesn't necessarily always hang on this artistic tone of the actuality of humanity. As long as it's a better action movie than Sunshine, which is still a good action movie, I just really don't like the ending to that movie.
Yeah. No, I hear you. Well, fingers crossed. I'm hoping. I mean, they are off to a good start. So
yeah. Oh my God, an incredible start.
They just need to stick the landing. If they stick the landing, this will be a great ending to. This will break that current tradition, I should say, of people trying to reboot old franchises. Because once again, barely any have worked. Blade Runner is one of the few exceptions. But now you have this, which has been since 20. Has it been 28 years since 28 Weeks Later?
It has not yet been 28 years since.
But it's been close. Like it's in the ballpark.
Yeah. I think we're technically at like 25 or something, 23, 25, something like that.
But I mean, that's a huge space and for it to be this good and this successful.
Well, and it also, going back to Blade Runner, it makes you this gives us a second point of information that we can use when determining what makes a good reboot versus a bad reboot. What do this and Blade Runner do so effectively that other reboots don't do? They are not here simply to coast on the original or to try and recapture the original. They are full-on evolutions of the original.
That's true.
2049 says, okay, so that's how Blade Runner ended. Now we're going to fast forward and see what happens in that amount of time. But this is not just about Deckard or anything. We're going to look forward to see what it is, and everything feels like a natural evolution of the world that we see in Blade Runner. This is the same thing for 28 Days Later. This is a natural evolution of that story, of that world, of that mythos. And honestly, even if they make 2 more movies and they're lackluster, this movie is so good at this point, in this moment right now, I don't even care. I'm just glad to have this movie.
That's true. And I'll take it as a standalone.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But, I honestly, if this is their vision, I would find it would have to be really, really, really bad to blow this.
Yeah. I know. I agree. See, that's why I reference Sunshine, because Sunshine is such a great movie until the last 20 minutes. We've talked about it on the show way back when we first started the show. But man, when you find out that the monster is just some weird person on this other ship, you're like, that's such a bummer. I wanted so much more than that. And so as long as it doesn't turn out that there's some, stupid twist at the end of all of this, and you're like, oh, really? Okay. Really? So, just keep going with the Attack on Titan path. Keep going down the gruesomeness of humanity. And explore what this world means now.
I don't know. I'm excited. Fingers crossed. All right, folks. Well, that was NerdPod Generations, episode 165 in many pieces. And we have Frankenstein together, what I think is a pretty damn good show.
I was just thinking, we have Del Toro Frankenstein this and stitched it all together.
Oh, we have. And just remember, folks, next week we're going to have off for the holiday, but we will be coming back, fingers crossed, hopefully, for another watch and react with the new James Gunn Superman movie. Just stand by, and we will let you know what happens there. But anyways, NerdPod Generations 165 is in the books. Make sure you go to nerdpodgen.com. There are links to Spotify podcast, Apple podcast, YouTube. There's some personal links for our different projects that we do on the side. And Al, who does our artwork and music?
Our art is by Kortney Howell. Our music is by Brendan Williams and James Connolly. I am Alfred Judson, no longer feeling terribly sick.
Well, that's fantastic. And I'm Steve Taylor. Happy 4th, everyone. And we'll see you when we see you.
We'll remember the better parts of this world and not celebrate the bad ones.
Yes, sir.
Have a good week, friends and enemies.
All right, bye.